Hello everyone, this is Mumbo and welcome back to another Minecraft video, and in this one we're going to take a look at a bunch of different redstone contraptions that are perfect for your houses that you're building in your worlds. Now these are going to involve various different household appliances and also a few other cool bits and pieces that I think you guys are going to really quite like. So let's crack on. So the first one that we're going to take a look at in today's video is the working shower system. When we flick the lever right here, you can see our dispenser chucks out some water and then it retracts it away nice and quickly, because of course we don't want a constant water stream, as that will look a little bit silly, and most importantly the water will go all over the place. Now the cool thing about this design is the water is retracted so quickly that it doesn't actually flow anywhere, and you get this working shower system that looks pretty awesome. I mean, I personally absolutely love this thing, and the coolest part is if you take a look around the back, the redstone is also relatively simple, involving a handful of hoppers, a couple of comparators, some redstone torches, some redstone repeaters, and of course the dispenser. Nice and simple. To build this thing, the first thing we've got to do is create a 4x3 area. Then you want to chuck in a few blocks going up like this, and then one block on either side just like that. Then you want to place a dispenser in the center, which is going to be our shower head, and out the back you want to place two hoppers running into one another just like this. Now inside those hoppers we're going to place an item, but we're not going to do that just yet because we need to chuck in both of our comparators running out of both of the hoppers, and they're going to be running out into these blocks right here with redstone torches running up into these blocks. Out the side of this block right here, we want to place a repeater with redstone dust that's going to be powering that dispenser. Then you want to place a couple blocks going across like this, redstone dust, another repeater, and then some more redstone dust, which once again is going to be powering that dispenser. Then if we place an item inside our hopper just like that, chuck in a lever on the side and turn it on to switch off the mechanism, then place a water bucket on the inside of the dispenser, as you can see our system is working perfectly. The next build that we're going to take a look at in today's video is the working toilet system, which I believe is something you need to have in every single household, otherwise you're just totally filthy. So let's just say you were to drop something inside this toilet, for example that thing right there, you can flush that away by pressing this button. That gets removed from our little bowl and it gets taken away to a much more sanitary area. But of course you can't just be walking around with skidders all day, you need some way to wipe all that up. So all you have to do is hit this button right here, and as you can see we also have a toilet paper dispenser. This thing works absolutely perfectly, and as I mentioned earlier on, any civilized human being will have one of these in their house. To build this thing, you want to get things started with a 3x3 area, and the first thing we're going to do is go 2 blocks up like this and place another block on the other side as well, then place a cauldron in the middle, and that's going to be your toilet bowl. Then inside that cauldron you just want to place a water bucket, then you want to remove 2 layers of water from the cauldron to make it look just a tiny bit more like a toilet. Then out the back here you just want to place in a chest with a hopper running into that chest, then you want to go out the back and place a couple blocks going up like this all the way across there, with a button on this side and a button on this side as well. Then you want to place a redstone torch facing in this direction with a block right here, redstone dust, and a repeater running into this block. So that right there is your flushing mechanism all done and dusted. If we chuck an item in, you can see it stays in the toilet bowl until you flush it. But now we have to do the toilet paper dispenser, and the way we do that is quite simply placing a dropper right here. Then we can fill that up with the paper, and that is everything completed. You now have yourself a fully functioning toilet system that I think looks pretty amazing. This next build is less about the house and more about the garden, because I personally believe that every garden deserves a bouncy castle. Now I know what you're thinking, Mumbo, you're 20 years of age now, you're technically an adult, you shouldn't really be playing in bouncy castles, but here's the thing, okay? I would say that every adult wants to play in the bouncy castle, it's just not particularly socially acceptable. So if you had your own bouncy castle in your own garden that you could play in any time, you'd be able to do that, and no one would be judging you. Now this is the design that I've come up with, it's pretty cool, very minimalistic, because of course this is Minecraft, we only have blocks to play with, but it's looking pretty nice, and I have to say, it's ridiculously powerful. If we stand on this thing, as you can see, it really does launch you up into the sky. I mean, can you imagine if they had these things in real life? It would cause a lot of fatalities, I have to say. There would be a lot of deaths at children's parties, but still, I think it's absolutely fantastic. For those of you who want to build this thing, the main basis of the design is this 3x2 area right here. It's a very small little redstone circuit, and all it involves is 2 hoppers running into one another, a comparator output, and then a sticky piston facing upwards with some slime blocks on its face. That's it. That's the entire build done. So what we have to do now is chuck in a few immovable objects around the outside of the slime blocks. You can use whatever blocks you really fancy. I personally quite like to use your pumpkins, because they sort of fit the color scheme. They seem to look best in this design, but you can use obsidian, furnaces, whatever you really want to. But then all we have to do is chuck your items inside the hoppers, and you're good to go. You can see our slime blocks are extending up and down. Those will launch the players up and down as well. Now you can fill in all of the blocks and start work on the decorating. And for me personally, I'm going to go for the design that I featured in the actual showcase itself. So we have blue blocks like this, going right the way around the outside, just like that. Then we're going to have yellow arches going up the side. So what we have to do is leave 1 block gap on all of the corners, and then of course our yellow arches go all the way up like this. They go 3 blocks higher and make their way right the way around, which I personally think looks pretty cool and very bouncy castle-like. And then in between all of our yellow arches, we're going to have our red border blocks, and out the front we're going to have our red stairs. Obviously my one isn't quite finished, but now you roughly know how to build it. For those of you super rich Minecrafters out there, you might want to invest in a redstone jacuzzi. As you can see right here, we've got our fully functional jacuzzi system, and if we just hop inside this thing, it looks pretty comfortable, doesn't it? I mean, we've got all of the bubbles going on, we've got all of the steam rising up out of the water, and I have to say, I wasn't expecting this to work quite as well as it has, but I personally really quite like this thing. I mean, sure, it doesn't look quite as amazing as a real life jacuzzi, but as I've mentioned many times in this video, this is Minecraft, okay? We're working with blocks here, you can't be too spectacular. To build this thing, you want to get things started with a 5x5 area, and the first thing we're going to do is start work on all of the redstone circuitry. So you want to place 2 blocks in like this, redstone right here, redstone torch on either side of these blocks, then a redstone torch there, and a redstone torch right there, then place blocks on top of all of the redstone torches, and as you can see, that will create what's known as a redstone burnout clock, which is essentially a really fast redstone clock, which will allow us to dispense the water really nice and quickly. So we want to do the same thing on the other side, so once again, 2 blocks like this, redstone dust right there, redstone torch on the side of that one, redstone torch right there, and redstone torches all over the place, then blocks on top of all of those redstone torches, and once again we've got ourselves a working burnout clock. Now we can start work on actually filling in our jacuzzi. So the way that we do that is create this 3x3 area right here, then we want to place 3 blocks going around like this, 3 blocks going around like this, 3 blocks going around on this side as well, and then another 3 blocks over here. So you should end up with this sort of shape. Then you want to place in all of your dispensers at all 4 of the sides, and then inside those dispensers you want to place in your water buckets, and they will be dispensing really nice and quickly. You can see all of that is happening nice and fast, and we've got ourselves a working jacuzzi system which looks absolutely wonderful. I'm sure all of you have at least been to or own a house that has got one of those fancy fireplace systems. You know, the ones that don't require any wood and don't require any coal. Instead, all you have to do is hit a button or flick a switch, and suddenly you've got yourself a nice and toasty fireplace without having to put in any work. This is essentially the Minecraft equivalent. This right here is the Minecraft equivalent of those lovely, homely little things. All we have to do is flick this lever right here, and as you can see, our fireplace switches on, it's looking nice, and when we flick the lever once again, you can see that our fireplace turns off. Really nice and easy, and it's definitely going to impress all of your friends. To build this thing, you want to get things started with a 3x3 area, and the first thing we're going to be doing is going out the back like this and placing 3 blocks up like that with a lever on the back of that block. Now obviously you can do your input however you really want to, this is just for a demonstration. You can actually run a redstone line into this block and that will power the whole system, but it has to be from a lever. Then you just want to place a dispenser facing in this direction with a sticky piston facing upwards and some netherrack on its face. Then on the side of this block you just want to place a redstone torch, a dropper facing in this direction, a hopper running back into it with a comparator running into that sticky piston, and then place any old item inside that dropper right there. And that is the whole mechanism completed. As you can see, when we flick this lever on, we get ourselves a flame, and when we flick the lever off again, the flame is taken out by the block. Now of course, in terms of decoration, you can do whatever you really fancy, but I personally really like this design. That just involves a few blocks, and then a few stairs, and then a few blocks going upwards like this. Lovely stuff. Now if you want to be one of the fanciest Minecraft players out there, I would suggest building a lift inside your house. Yes, we've all seen the crazy celebrities that have elevators inside their houses. Well, you can join that gang by building this mini lift right here. All it does is send you up by 3 blocks, but it looks really cool while you're doing it. Look, when we hit this button right here, the whole platform moves upwards and you can travel off onto the next floor. Now, believe it or not, the redstone for this thing is actually relatively simple, and that's due to the fact that this thing uses slime blocks to operate, which are notoriously easy for large piston extenders. To build this one, you want to get things started with a 4x5 area, and the first thing we're going to do is place a block down at the bottom here, and then 3 sticky pistons in this sort of L shape with a 2x2 area of slime blocks on top, and then a 2x2 area of blocks on top of those. And of course, that's where you're going to be standing for your lift to operate. Then you want to place a repeater set to 4 ticks running into this block, and then you want to place redstone going out around the back like this, and then you want to place an immovable object right here and an immovable object right here, which you're going to power all of the pistons. So first up, you want to go a couple blocks across like this, with redstone running into that block right there. Then you want to take a redstone output from this redstone line right here and place a repeater set to 2 ticks running into this block with some redstone dust that is going to be powering that furnace there. So believe it or not, that is all of the redstone completed. If we run an input into this thing, you can see all of our pistons extend and when we flick the lever off again, all of the pistons retract. Now, as far as inputs are concerned, I personally prefer to use the button because, of course, that retracts after you've stepped off the lift, and you can place a button up the top so the lift comes to you so you can ride the lift downwards as well. But you can do whatever you really fancy. And for the final build of today's video, if you want to go really crazy, you can build yourself a home cinema. As you can see right here, when we chuck a disc inside our jukebox, all of the lights will turn off and our film will begin to play. Now, I have to say, I thought my film was quite good, but some of you have really impressed me with what you've come up with. Some of the films you guys have been creating are actually really quite good. And I'll try my best to remember to put links to those down in the description. But if you do want to know how to build this thing, I'll also put a link to that down in the description because I really like this build. It's one of my favourite recent builds. It's a really cool contraption and I'm sure you guys are going to love it. So there we have it, ladies and gents. That rounds up today's video on a bunch of different builds that you can use for your houses. I personally really quite like it, and I hope that you found it useful, and let me know your suggestions down in the comment section because I'd love to hear them. But unfortunately, ladies and gents, that is all I've got time for today. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please sure to hit that like button, and if you really loved it, then make sure to subscribe. But thanks for watching, guys. This has been Mumbo, and I'm out. I'll see you later.